weather has been particularly good over the last week. So last week I went out driving up and down the river here looking for areas, beaches, swimming areas to treasure hunt with my metal detectors. Because I'm a metal detectorist. I have this crazy hobby of metal detecting. And I love it. I haven't done it seriously now. I guess since before the pandemic. But I love it. And it was just awesome to get out in the air and get into the river in the fall, in the sunshine. My God, it was beautiful. This is a show about jewelry, why we wear it, why it matters, how it's made, and what it means. I'm Alex D, and I turn cannabis into gold. I make mind-blowing jewelry in gold, silver, and platinum from cannabis plants here in Canada for stage, screen, for people who want to rock crazy jewelry. I'm the Cannabis Goldsmith. This is actually one of the most beautiful places on the planet in the fall time when the leaves all change color here in southeastern Ontario. It's absolutely gorgeous out here. And where I am, the leaves have not really started turning yet, but they will by next week. But just 10 minutes towards Montreal, 10 minutes away in the car, you can see that the leaves are definitely changing color. It's in a completely different climate zone, it seems, but absolutely stunning. So last week the weather was perfect, and I went up and down, driving up and down the coast thinking maybe I could go into the water with my metal detector and look for treasure. And I found a gold ring last week. So that sort of got me back in the vibe again of metal detecting. I used to do it seriously. I'd go around the world and I'd treasure hunt beaches in the tropics and South Africa and Mauritius Island. I used to go to a lot and go around the island and the perimeter of the ocean and just hunt for gold rings and jewelry. And I used to do really quite well at it too. And certainly enough to pay for the trip and the accommodation and a free vacation basically out there, and a lot of good exercise finding treasure. But for you people who don't know about metal detecting, maybe you've seen somebody on the beach with a metal detector or out in a ballpark or a sporting field or whatever, wandering around with a metal detector and then a shovel and then digging a hole and then looking for what was down there. Generally speaking, old guys do this, and it seems to be more focused on guys, and it's very popular in the United States, very popular. And where I am here, many Americans come over the border to camp in their trailers up and down the river here. They bring their Winnebagos and their camping trailers, and they set up at these camp sites along the river, and they metal detect on the beaches here. So the beaches are pretty much picked clean by the visiting detectorists, and I'm sure there's quite a few local detectorists in the area here that are also hunting these beaches, looking for gold rings that people might have dropped when they were at the beach, or coins, or whatever it is they're looking for. Now with metal detecting, it's not all the same one thing. There's different areas of it, different specialties of it. And then generally if somebody picks up metal detecting as a hobby, they'll veer into one of the areas that they like the best. Like some people will only hunt on land, looking for coins or relics or whatever. And then other people will only hunt on the beach in dry sand. And other people will hunt in the water. And I'm one of those guys. I'm a water specialist. I use waterproof metal detectors. I go into the water. It can be ocean. It could be in waves, in surf, in the ocean, or in lakes, or in this case, rivers, the St. Lawrence River. So I'm like, I moved out here with my metal detectors. I didn't really turn them on until this year to get an idea of what's out here. Although I did go out last year for a few hours at a few different beaches. I never found anything really. I found some coins or whatever that somebody else missed. But the gold had already been picked out by all these people with metal detectors. Now, you see, metal detecting is a huge hobby in the States, and there's so many detectors. Now, years ago, the quality of the detectors wasn't so good, so they didn't have the ability to detect, to focus on objects more clearly, so you could separate them from the rubbish that might be lying next to them. But as technology improved and as electronics got smaller and smaller, the detectors got better and better, and now you can get. Even the lower end detectors are really quite good at detecting stuff detecting metal. But the professional grade, the high end detectors are just incredible these days. You can use them on land, in the water. They can find gold. They can find different other kinds of metals. Generally speaking, the professional level ones detectors are more expensive, and in the 1,000 up range, and the cheaper ones are less than that. But it's a great hobby because it gets you outside, it gets you out into the fresh air, it gets you moving around. It's a bit like gardening or fishing, where you have to go outside to do it, and you have to do all these steps in order to do your gardening or your fishing, like casting or lugging a canoe or digging holes in the ground and putting plants in, or what. It's just an excuse to get out in the air and out in the sun and get physical activity, but also to connect with the earth, which is another thing this hobby does, metal detecting. It connects you with the earth. But it also connects you to history, because what you're finding is historical. It might be like last week historical, that somebody had lost it 2 weeks ago while they were swimming. Or it could be finding a relic from the 1800s or even older in Europe. Europe is very old. The people in Europe with metal detectors are finding, especially in the UK, there's a huge community of them there that are going over farmers' fields and finding hoards of gold coins. And they're finding lots of stuff there because there's age in Europe. But here in North America, it's not so old when it comes to metallic stuff. So, our history doesn't go that far back. And in Canada, it doesn't go that far back either. And in the area I'm in, it goes even less far back, because they built the St. Lawrence Seaway not too long ago. And it changed the contours of the shoreline on the river. So what metal detectorists are hunting on beaches now, the beaches, I guess 100 years ago, were different. The river, the coastal area on the river, the shape of it was different. So all that has changed. So the old stuff is I guess, not here. But there is more modern stuff. I say from the 1800s up. I guess, yeah. Well, let's say the 1800s up. It's all around here. Now, for somebody who's detecting on land, there's lots of battle areas along the river here. When the U.S. and Canada got into a skirmish here, there's forts along here. This would be an area to hunt relics, and relics are things like cannonballs and musket balls and this kind of stuff that relates to life in an earlier time, wars in an earlier time, maybe some old cooking utensils or stuff. People look for that. They'll specialize in hunting for relics on land or hunting for relics in water. So when people pick up metal detecting as a hobby, they veer into a specialty area, generally speaking, and they stick with it. So mine is the water. So I was like, I have all the gear, I guess, that I used to use in the oceans, maybe just before the pandemic, and in the lakes of Ontario. I would go up north and I'd hunt, and I just love getting in the water with a metal detector and just seeing what's there. If somebody who swam in that area, maybe at any time, from last week to 200 years ago, if they were in the water, they might have dropped something there, and that's what I'm looking for with this waterproof metal detector. Now, I can snorkel with it, but I don't usually. I usually wade in the water up to my shoulders. In one hand, I have a metal detector. In the other hand, I have a long-handled scoop. It looks like a shovel. But in the shovel part, it has holes in it so the sand can flow through. So what I'm doing is I detect. I walk up and down in the water in shoulder deep, and I'm swinging this metal detector underwater back and forth. Metal detectors have to keep moving in order for them to work. If they're stationary, if you stop moving them, they don't work. They have to pass. You have to pass it over something because it's shooting kind of radio waves into the ground or into the lake bed or river bed, and it's listening for what comes back and determining if there's any kind of metallic object below it. And what kind of a metallic object? Is it made of iron, like a relic might be made of, and has an iron component, like in a musket ball? Or does it have a gold a vibe to it, or silver? These metals sound different in a metal detector. So this is what I'm doing. I'm swinging this thing back and forth. And in the other hand, I'm dragging this long-handled scoop, which is like a sieve, but made of stainless steel that can punch through a riverbed or a lake bed. It has a long handle. And so that's what I'm doing, walking up and down. And generally, I can tell if an area has been cleaned out by somebody, another detectorist, within a few minutes, because you won't hear anything. If you're on a popular swimming beach, for example, that a lot of people used to go swimming on, and you go in the water with a metal detector and you don't hear anything, it could either mean that somebody's beat you to it, or that there's a lot of new sand that's piled up on the beach for some reason, or underwater for some reason. Like some currents have pushed some sand up and made the objects, taken them out of your range, because you don't have much range with metal detectors. I mean, I don't know, people will claim huge ranges, but I would say anywhere between 0 and 18 inches. If you have, you can set up your metal detector in a way that can detect it quite deeply, but it loses, when you do this, it loses the ability to pinpoint more accurately. So the more focus you have with metal detecting, the easier it is to find the object you're trying to dig out. But if you're looking at a wider area, you still have to narrow it down to dig out the object, right? Otherwise, you're just going to be digging huge holes everywhere and not like you'd be wasting your energy. Anyway, so I was driving up and down the river, and I was I'm in this area, and I've wanted to go in the water, and fuck this. The weather's perfect. It's a perfect fall day. I charged up the batteries. I, got my scoop handle all lacquered and ready, to repel the water. I'm like, got the gear out of the boxes, charged everything up, and I went out I actually went out to a couple beaches down the river, more towards Montreal, and I found a 14-karat gold ring. And I felt it in the beach. And this is something metal detectorists will tell you, that they feel gold. They sense it in an area, and sure enough, there it'll be, So yeah, I found it quite a nice ring. And at this gold is so expensive these days, it's so expensive that it's taking bites out of the jewelry trade because people they realize how expensive it is to get gold. So this small ring the melt value is like $200 or whatever, just for like a tiny little gold ring. So it was worth the time. But more than that, it got me so hyped. It's like, oh, gold. Because metal detectorists or treasure hunters of any kind, or gold miners or gold panners, the gold bug is a thing. It's a serious thing. And if you get it, if you find gold, you get it. And it's like, ooh, gold. You want to look for more of it. And why not, too? That's what I think. So anyway, the next day, I thought I'm going to go back. And I've for the last week, I've been going up and down the river, hunting the various swimming beaches, the public beaches, but in the water, going out into the water. And one thing I've determined is that all the easy stuff is gone because people are using better and better quality detectors, even if they're not good at metal detecting or if they're not experienced at it. Their detectors are exceptionally good. So by luck, or even by chance, they're finding stuff. But they're cleaning out the beach and making it more difficult to find things. So in order to get around this, you have to go to areas that people haven't found yet. And this is really hard, especially in this area when everybody is looking. So research becomes very important. And this is where the most success at metal detecting happens. I think the most important component of metal detecting is not the detector or the detectorist, but it's the research. You have to research the area you're hunting in or the area you want to hunt, and you want to look for potential spots where, of course, where people swim, where they could lose jewelry, or where where there might be people might have congregated in the past on land. If you're a land hunter, like a church grounds or school, old school, an old high school or whatever from the past, or like something like that. You want to research it, find it, and then get permission to hunt it, because that's important. You need permission to hunt private property, and then hunt it with your metal detectors. And if your research has paid off and nobody has beat you to it, you'll start finding stuff. So anyway, I was looking up and down the river here for beaches that might not have been hit, and they've all been hit. They've all been cleaned out. And now that the swimming season is over and it's gotten colder here, it's getting colder, and soon we're going to be getting frost and stuff. Although people are still swimming. I mean, they're not. New stuff isn't being dropped into the water. Fresh drops, the metal detectorists call that. Fresh drops. Well, the fresh drops aren't there because nobody's swimming anymore until next year. So the only stuff that I'm not going to find any new stuff. I'm going to find stuff that's already there. Now, metal detectorists of experience will tell you that even if an area has been hunted over and over and over, there's still stuff there to find. If you're good enough, if you have a good enough machine, if you go slowly enough, you'll find what others have not found. But it becomes really labor intensive for not much results. Also, it's disheartening because you're not hearing anything. Remember, I'm walking around swinging this detector underwater. It's like swinging a tennis racket underwater. It's just physically difficult to do. And you're wearing headphones listening to the signals coming up from the riverbed or the lake bed. And you're listening for the tones that indicate gold or silver or coins or iron or different things, right? So you have to be very focused. Your brain is focused, and you're walking, and as the tones are coming in through the headphones, you're picturing what that might look like in the riverbed or the lake bed. Okay, you can picture, there's must be an iron nail, must be a bottle cap. There could be some coins around there, underneath it maybe. This is what you're thinking as you're walking along. And if you hear a particular sound that sounds like gold, you dig it out and you see what it is. And a lot of the newer detectorists will trust their machines. They'll say, oh, it says, it didn't say it was gold, so it mustn't be gold. It says there's a kind of a display on these detectors that produces some numbers that relate to what the object might be. Is it iron or gold or silver or whatever? So sometimes, a lot of times, people will miss gold because they look at the numbers on their detector, look at the display, and it isn't gold, so they'll move on. But there might be something right next to the gold that is changing its appearance in the detector. Like there might be a bottle cap right above it or below it or next to it, or there might be some other metal nearby, or there might be iron sand in the sand, this black kind of magnetic sand that you sometimes get. That confuses detectors too. So you have to sort the machine tries to sort all this out, and then you have to interpret the data coming from the machine and decide whether you want to spend the physical effort digging out whatever's under there, because it's hard to do. And remember, you're in water too, so you can't really see anything if the water's cloudy. And once you start digging, it gets cloudy. So you're operating by feel, by sound. It's like juggling plates basically while standing on one leg. But the thing is, it's all giving you great exercise too, which is what I get out of it as a side benefit. It's like it helps with eye-hand coordination, balance, all kinds of things. Core strength, shoulder strength, it's helping with a lot of that stuff. That I'm not a gym guy. I could never go to a gym for any reason really. But to go and look at myself in the mirror and lift weights, fuck that shit, man. I'd rather be finding gold rings. If I have to put out the effort, I'd rather be finding diamond rings or whatever in the water than looking at myself in a mirror as I curl dumbbells. But anyway, back to the metal detecting. So I found another beach. I researched it and I found it. And I guess in the summer it's a really busy beach, but it's hard to get to. And in the off season it's closed, so nobody can drive to it. It's about a kilometer or so of walking to get to it because the road's blocked. Like the municipality or whatever just blocks it. They pull down this gate. You have to park in front of the gate, and then you have to walk with your gear like a kilometer or more to get to the beach in the off season. And I found this beach. It was like, it's just fantastic. But the idea was, how am I going to get my gear to it? Because carrying gear for that distance is, you arrive at the beach tired already, and that's not what you want. So I got a little wagon, and I just loaded everything on this wagon, and I just dragged the wagon out there with all my gear. Nobody on this beach whatsoever. Nobody in this area. Perfect weather. And I went out there and hunted it. And obviously somebody beat me to it again. And I saw on the dry sand, that a metal detectorist had been there before, digging holes and filling them in again, as you do when you metal detect. And the sign of a good detectorist is somebody who fills their holes in almost perfectly so that they blend into the rest of the ground or the beach or whatever, to make the least impact as possible. And somebody here had, when I arrived, I could see somebody had already been digging out the dry sand, and they'd filled the holes in almost perfectly. So they were pretty good at what they were doing. But the water was dry. So there's nothing in the main swimming area. I couldn't find anything under the main swimming area in this beach. But it was just so beautiful getting out in the sunshine. It's like 20 degrees, sunny. The water's probably about 19 degrees still. I have wetsuit on, a thin wetsuit, like 1 mil or 2 mil wetsuit, 1.5, out there, and warmest, cozy, and hunting up and down this beach. It's beautiful beach, nobody around. God, it was heaven. The trees all changing color. Holy shit. I mean, you don't even have to find anything to enjoy that. And I was getting exercise too. So anyway, so I was hunting this beach. I hunted it out. I went back a second day. And then I started finding an area in it that people had missed treasure hunting. Now, a detectorist will move on. They'll move on if it's too difficult to get the thing out of the ground. Like if there's rocks on the riverbed, on the lake bed, if it's all rocks, if a detectorist can hear a gold ring under there, they're not going to get it out unless they have specialized tools and unless they want to spend a lot of physical activity, effort, and time to try and dig out rocks to get to what might be a gold ring, but might turn out to be a pop tab or a piece of aluminum after like 15 minutes trying to dig it out of the ground. So anyway, I found this area that is full of targets. Like I dug out some coins from the 1960s, from the 1950s. I found a silver quarter. I'm not a coin guy. I'm looking for rings here, right? I'm looking for gold. But the fact that I can pull silver quarters out tells me, anyway, that metal detectorists haven't hit this area well, or somebody skilled hasn't hit it well. And if I'm pulling silver quarters out of here, it's not been hunted very well at all. But the thing is, it's under rock, and I think a lot of people don't have the tools to dig it out. But I, of course, have the tools. I have special scoops that I had made in the Ukraine for me to hunt, to crack through dead coral in Mauritius, like incredible, strong, like metal detecting scoops that are just meant to cut through rock and clay and hard, difficult to deal with materials underwater, right? Like I have this tool. So I was out there and I was cutting through it and I was pulling out these coins and I'm thinking, okay, this tells me that there's gold here. I just have to spend the time and the effort to find it. So I found a good beach now to hunt and in the area, and I'm going to do that. I'm just going to go. I'm going to grid it out. I'm going to draw a map and grid it out and slowly work it. And hopefully I'll be able to pull the gold out of the beach that's there because it's there. If coins are coming out of there from the I guess up to the from the 50s and up, what that means is that the gold is there. And why nothing older? Well, this is the St. Lawrence Seaway was built in that period. So the water level changed when they built the Seaway. They built dams at various points along the St. Lawrence River as part of the Seaway project. And it raised the level of the river in some areas and I guess reduced it in other areas. But in this area, it raised it. So all the 1800s swimming areas are too deep for me to hunt by wading, but it would be great for divers, I guess. There's lots of sunken villages and stuff here, divers check out. But I have no interest in that. I want gold, and I want gold rings. So I'm like, I've got the gold bug. And while the weather's still warm enough, I'm going to go out and I'm going to look again. It's going to take me probably the rest of my life to hunt this one beach, to do it well. If I have the patience to do it, that's the other thing, you know. Or if it does, it might even change during the winter. Like some ice might come in and change the whole contours of the beach. It might push sand around or move shit. And it might change. I'll change next year. So anyway, I don't know what'll happen with that. But anyway, I have this area now that there's probably, I would guess, maybe anywhere from 10 to 100 gold rings in this area. This is just speculating, mind you. But that's what I would suspect. But they're all under rock and clay, and it's really hard to get at them. And I haven't even heard them yet, so on my metal detector. But I've heard objects that if the coins are there, the gold is there. So anyway, today it looks overcast, so I'm not going to go out today, I don't think. I have harvesting to do today. It's Croptober, so I've taken down one of the big plants already. The Thai plant is down. It's excellent too. And the leaves are coming off it too. I'm picking a few leaves for jewelry pieces, which I'll be doing today. I've left a few sticks on the Thai plant just to see what happens as this season progresses. I just want to see how frost and leaving a plant out too long. See what happens to it. I'm learning, so I don't know, and I don't know. So we'll see. It might change the leaves in a different way that I can make better jewelry pieces out of them. What else, jewelry-wise? The new hockey stick design is done. We should be getting some new hockey sticks. There's one available right now from the previous batch, but this new batch of hockey sticks will be available for Christmas. So these are sterling silver hockey sticks made in southeastern Ontario by Tribe. They're the perfect gift for a hockey lover. We can engrave them with the person's name on them. They're about 6 inches long, and they're sterling silver, and they come in a plush gift box. So it's a perfect gift for a hockey lover. They can put it on their mantelpiece. They can play hockey with coins on their desk, which is what they'll be doing with this because it's ideal for that. But anyway, if you want one for Christmas, you better email me and we'll make them. Get your Christmas orders in now because we only make a certain number of products a year, and that's all we can do. Everything here is made by hand and shipped to you wherever you may be. That's it for me this week on metal detecting on the Cannabis Goldsmith. I'm so excited. I have the gold bug. I want to go out into the river again, raining or not, snow or not. I'm wondering how long I'll be able to hunt before it freezes over. Like I've done everything from the tropics to ice, having to crack ice on the surface to get a metal detector into the water. So I'm ready. Bring on the gold. Anyway, if you're wondering what machines I'm using, I'm not using the most modern machines here. I'm using a CTX 3030 metal detector, which was the state of the art a few years ago. It's still quite good. And I'm using Excaliburs. And I have a White's dual field, which is more for ocean use. But you never know. I might pull it out. And if there's an area that has a lot of targets in it, I might take out everything, whether it's in a square yard of seabed or lake bed. I might dig out absolutely everything in there and to find the gold that's hiding underneath other objects. So I'm so hyped. Hobbies are great. Hobbies are fantastic. So now you know about my nutty metal detecting hobby. Metal detecting is so great. It's everything. History, physical exercise, gold, all rolled into one. Take up metal detecting. Or if you see somebody out in a ballpark or whatever, the metal detector, you'll know what they're looking for. Gold rings. The Cannabis Goldsmith is produced by Tribe Communications, Inc. in the Thousand Islands area of Ontario, Canada. You can see what we do at tribe.ca. Send us an email, alexd@cannabisgoldsmith.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week on the Cannabis Goldsmith.